Hello everybody and welcome into another video. This is weekly roundup for week 3 in what was just an absolutely kind of wild week from top to bottom. Um, but yeah, let's get into it. Obviously, first things first, we go through the scores. The first thing, BearCave, one of the best BearCaves we've ever had. That stream went almost 2 hours, so almost double the time it normally takes. We had 3 overtime games, and this was one of them. Southern Miss takes out number 8, Arizona State, in double overtime after Arizona State tied it on with 12 seconds left on 4th and inches. Once again, Southern Miss wins in OT. 2 weeks in a row they've gotten an upset in overtime, and they were just outside the top 25 this week. I believe they're number 27. In the highest ranked matchup of the week, we got Tennessee, who outlasted Ole Miss. They got a garbage time touchdown, so it really was a 3-point victory. But Tennessee is definitely on the rise and looking a lot better than anybody anticipated coming into the season. And a big upset here, New Mexico taking out North Carolina in what was really just offensive explosion. Jackson Smith Ninjigba, he transferred from Ohio State to New Mexico in our world. He had 3 touchdowns, easily the best game of his career. Jacoby Criswell also had a really good game, but I do believe he had quite a few picks. Shout out Mr. Hurricanes Dynasty if any of you guys watched that. Jacoby Criswell. Minnesota got it done. It looks like Georgia Tech's having kind of a really down year. Baylor got back in the winning column. And then the best game of the week by far was a triple overtime game in the Cyhawk series in Ames, Iowa. Coach Jarkus versus Coach Ron. This game was just incredible. I have a full highlight video for BearCave for you guys to watch, but Iowa tied it on 4th and goal, just like the Arizona State game, on a 5-yard TD run, and then they just went back and forth, and then ISU hit a field goal off of the post and it went in, and then Iowa, this field goal went right down the middle, and then they hit another one that went off the crossbar and the post. So some wild field goal shenanigans, but ISU ended up getting the dub on a Mo Alley Cox 25-yard pass. Definitely the most exciting game of BearCave. Virginia Tech, after a huge upset in week 1, they got smoked by SMU. Kind of an upset here. Northern Illinois got it done against San Diego State on the road. Memphis continues a strong start to the season despite losing so many players. Western Kentucky took out Coach Skook in Texas A&M. This is one of the problems with Texas A&M. They are super highly rated, but they have these head-scratching performances, it seems like, every year. So we'll see how he handles that and moves forward. Notre Dame did get it done in a shootout. Watch out for Oregon State. They have a few quality wins. They only got 1 win all of last year, so they've already doubled it. So they could be a dark horse in the Pac-12. Another big game. This is a 4 versus 11 matchup. NC State took out Miami. This was raining in the Orange Bowl Hard Rock Stadium, so it was like very low scoring. And then in the 4th quarter, there's a few touchdowns, but it really, in the end, NC State got it done, and they got a huge boost up in the rankings. Florida State handled Duke. Chad Barber got it done again. He moves to 2-0 on a crash course with East Carolina. Even with their backup quarterback, Oregon still managed to beat San Jose State. California once again moving up in the rankings. Nebraska getting ranked for the first time after a very nice performance against App State. Kansas State, they also lost their quarterback. They still got the win against Temple. A tough loss here for the user out of Missouri. Alabama facing FCS. This was the other overtime game. Coach Green out of Kentucky blew a 8-point lead in the fourth quarter, and then with 42 seconds left, they got this nice 41-yard pass, and then the 2-point conversion. And then in overtime, Kentucky missed a field goal, and then Louisville ran it in. This was our falling apart game of the week. If you don't know what that is, join the Discord, and you can see a lot more fun stuff we kind of do to clown people when they lose like that. Arkansas and Coach Bohr finally got his first win of the year in an upset over Colorado. Florida keeps taking care of business. One of the bigger upsets of the week was unranked Houston beating top 5 Washington in a very low scoring matchup you'd think would be high scoring. These are two very good offenses, but Houston got that one done. And then I kind of want to look at Air Force here because they have two SFA players, Baxter and Darius Hayward-Bay. Both had very good games, first of their careers. And this is a Air Force team that has adopted the air raid. So Darius Hayward-Bay, his debut game, he goes for 162 and a touchdown. Brock Baxter goes for 95. So maybe Coach McGritty was on to something there. Vanderbilt drops 3 now. And perhaps one of the biggest upsets in SFA history as far as kind of the historical success of these teams. ULM, who has now 22 victories in 10 seasons, and Michigan, the former playoff team, perennial top 10 team the last couple of years, and ULM beat them by 10. So the true freshman Sammy Baugh leading this team to victory. Definitely a very tough loss for Michigan. They went from 6 to unranked after this one. Maryland continues, or finally won a close one against one of these group of 5 teams. Somehow they're still ranked at 19. And this was game day. I'm sure you guys watched the highlights. If you haven't, the full video is already up on the YouTube. But this was 49-7 at one point. 2 late touchdowns for Louisiana. Penn State looked incredible. Keziah Holmes and Jarrell Pryor just absolutely popped off. And the game was really over in the second quarter here when they got the pick 6 from King. From then, it kind of just snowballed into just a bad game day. But it was still a great performance. And kind of after the Michigan loss, now Penn State is really a real player here in this division with Ohio State. And then Ohio State, I mean, Arkansas State is kind of a higher respected group of 5 team, but only winning this game by 17 definitely puts some doubt in your mind, especially with an Ohio State team who has shown that they haven't been able to get it done. And then LSU takes another loss per usual, and that kind of rounds out the week here. The second thing we like to take a look at is the week 4 polls. This is voted on by all the coaches in the server. Anybody and everyone can submit their own top 25. You can use an algorithm or whatnot, and I will count it. So Ohio State takes the top spot again, then Alabama. Tennessee does move up to 3 from 9 last week. Notre Dame goes up to 4. NC State moved up. So did Florida. Kind of the most surprising team there in the top 6 is NC State. I personally am not too high on them quite yet. Ole Miss, they dropped to 7, but they still are ahead of Georgia, who they have the head-to-head over. Minnesota with the highest jump of the week, up 7 to number 9 in the country. California moves into the top 10. Miami dropped out of the top 10. Penn State moved up 6 with their big game day victory. Baylor got it done, and they're moving back up 4. Iowa State, despite a thrilling victory in Triple OT, they stayed put against an Iowa team that a lot of people aren't necessarily all that high on. Clemson didn't play. Michigan State, they move up 6. Arizona State, with the loss, they dropped down 10. Maryland somehow stays put. ECU was on a bye. Florida State moved up a bit. And then some unranked teams getting ranked is Syracuse, Houston, and Nebraska, as Washington drops 19 spots after their loss to Houston. Now let's take a look at some of the stats. Right now, Braxton Miller has a hefty lead on the passing leaders. Leads that by 127 yards. Rushing wise, you have Isaiah Holmes and Jalen Wright, both user running backs who are right behind LSU's Goodwin. Receiving leaders, Brent Boozler and Mike Evans are neck and neck, two SFA players going at it. They have kind of a decent lead over Western Kentucky there. Tackle leaders, typically all user teams here, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Southern Miss, and Iowa State. Sack leaders, Hall and Welsh are already at 5 through 3 weeks. And as far as interceptions, no one's really separated themselves besides Norwood at Texas A&M. And then kicking leaders, Roberto Aguayo, he has the long, but he did miss a critical field goal in that overtime game against Southern Miss this week. And then let's check on the players of the week here. So in the NCAA, you got Ball State. He had 2 tackles for loss, a sack, and 2 interceptions. Whereas Johnny Manziel, his first career player of the week. This is the first time really we've seen him pop up for his full potential. Almost 400, about a little over 400 total yards and 7 total touchdowns against App State. Sure, App State is a little worse than they used to be, but a fantastic showing from Nebraska, and they're definitely worthy of that number 25 ranking. In the ACC, you got Braxton Miller. He got Player of the Week. Isaiah Holmes, like I said, he on game day, I thought he was going to end up with the Player of the Week, but you know he still got the Big Ten honors. Johnny Manziel again. We had 2 interceptions from Tevin Williams. AAC, a fumble recovery, and almost 400 yards for Gavin Wimsatt. Preston Stone got a huge victory for SMU this week. Independence, SFA player Enzo Woods out of BYU, he got a pick. And then Mac, the player of the week, obviously Baldwin over here. And then a huge week for New Mexico as they upset UNC. He gets player of the week there. 5 TDs for Kai Milner. So if the kind of silences anybody who said he couldn't replace Trevor Siemian. SEC-wise, Antonio Williams had a decent day and a pretty good day from Cole Mason as well for Tennessee. And the Sun Belt, Fun Belt, not much doing for Chase Smith. He got a pick. And then the Troy quarterback here, he goes for 5 total touchdowns. And then we'll take a look at the Heisman Watch. This is where you really start to see a little bit of movement. You got Jalen Knighton here, still leading it. I expect him not to be up here moving forward. Same with Kyle McCord, who is a backup this season. But Jalen Wright out of Tennessee, one of our 499 overall players in the country, probably a favorite to win the award. He had 3 TDs this week and a little bit over 200 yards. We already talked about, but Isaiah Holmes as well, 4 TDs, 200 yards. And then Nate Robinson out of Alabama, he moved into the top 5 this week, but it looks like he may have gotten hurt this week in the game or got or kind of sat out as he only threw 6 total passes. So definitely that's going to drop him a little bit in these rankings as well. And then finally, one of the things we do not like to look at, but we have to, is injuries. So this week we did have quite a few injuries. First I want to start with Minnesota. 2 SFA player injuries. First is Jamison Crowder, the senior running back. He tore his pec, but he's probable. So I don't think I've ever seen such a serious injury get a probable tag. So I'm assuming he's going to play. We will see. Kim Metal, though, he did break his thumb. This is a incredibly deep wide receiver core, though, so it's really just next man up for them. And then I also want to take a look at Arkansas, who has broken the record for most user players to go down in 1 week. He had 3 injuries resulting in guys missing time. His starting center, Courtney Dunlap, he's going to miss the next 5 weeks, but luckily he missed any structural damage in that knee. Donnie Ross, he will miss He will miss this next week game with back spasms. Hopefully he doesn't pick up a questionable tag and miss more time. And then his starting running back, AJ Green, I believe, who he started this week, he did break his wrist. So they're going to have to rely on a thinning running back committee moving forward. There is a few major injuries I do want to take a look at. First is a new user. We have Missouri, who they've already started 0-2, 2 close losses, and now they lose their starting quarterback, Tyler McCon. He broke his tailbone on a sack, and he will miss the next 7 weeks. And then who knows how much longer if he picks up the questionable tag or if he has setbacks. So this may be a lost season for Missouri, but luckily he has year 1 immunity as a coach, so they shouldn't end up all that bad. And then one of the more sad injuries of the week, surely, and of the season is SFA player Christian Kirksey in his redshirt senior year breaks his forearm, and he is out for the season, meaning his career in the SFA is over. One of the best and worst parts about college football is you only get these guys for a limited time, and this is a guy who he was featured heavily on the TCS network back in the day, season 5, when we introduced the South Bend Today, or season 6. Him, Miles Gooch, and he is the last of that coveted class, and now it is over. His season will end. He finishes with only 4 tackles on the season, or 5 total, I guess, and 2 pass deflections after he had an alright season last year. So really a tough pill to swallow, but so is life. And it's just next man up for Notre Dame, so it won't necessarily hurt them all that much, but definitely a tough pill to swallow. And then finally, I want to go through, I'm going to add in to these videos, I'm just going to take a look at toughest places to play. This isn't something that's really all that crazy to look at, but the team who had the longest home win streak in the country was Washington, and obviously they lost this week to Houston, so now it's K-State and Ohio State who have the longest home winning streaks in the SFA, followed by Miami, Ohio, Memphis, Fresno State, Coastal, and Tulane. And then as far as the longest losing streaks, Texas has now lost 6 at home in a row, so a former SFA powerhouse has kind of fell off the rocker here. South Carolina, after starting 6-0 last season, is now 2-9, I believe, since. So they've really fallen off as well. Duke, just kind of a shitty team in the SFA for a really long time. And those are your biggest losers, as Iowa State snapped the home losing streak as well. So that does it for week 3. Week 4 has some great matchups. I'm super excited for it. Please leave a like on the video, comment who you think's making the playoff, and thanks for watching.